He says, the greatest gift that you can ever give yourself is to stop trying to create or have a better past.
Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
Great morning, world. Your boy Dragon coming at you on Monday, the 2nd of August. You ever wake up and just look at the date and just say, how the hell did we get here? Pretty crazy. So Chicken and I just got back from a big convention in Atlanta, and it was just such a trip to, jump back into the live speaking arena. I mean, there was 13,000 people in the crowd. So just to be there in the crowd was awesome. But then to go out there on the stage, after spending a year and a half with this whole pandemic thing, but also, evolving and in the world of the Dragon and all these different things that I've been working on, I found myself walking out on stage, and I did some videos on my live videos on my Facebook to show people what it was like to be backstage and walking out on the stage. Because I know that that's like something people visualize a lot. Some people are speakers, and they freak out about that, or they like it. But what was funny, and I was thinking about all of you, and it was nuts, by the way, how many people I met when you're walking through a crowd of 13,000 people, how many people came up to me that listen to the podcast. So I want to give a shout out to all of you. Those of you that are listening while you're jogging or, doing your rise ups in the morning. That was such an awesome feeling. But when I walked out on stage, well, I didn't walk out on stage. I had the Beastie Boys cranking, and I was a little bit fired up. But while I was out there and I was looking around, I was thinking about you guys, because I was like analyzing it and like observing it. And, and all of a sudden I just said, I better say something. It was funny because if you listen to me speak, I came out and I was like, hey, everybody. And I said things, but then all of a sudden I can see myself. I had this moment where I was thinking just about like the moment. And then I kind of like stalled all of a sudden. So it was pretty cool. I just loved it. It was awesome. So grateful for that. Today's Rise Up is called The Greatest Gift, and I'm going to jump into that. But before I do that, I was very, very inspired. Chicken and I, we own an international coaching company, and, it's focused on physical, mental, and financial well-being. The premise of what it is that we do is very, very interface response system, esque and Dragon-esque. The idea is that everybody is a seeker of the everybody listening. You all want to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. You all have different degrees of urgency. Some people woke up this morning needing more money. Some people had an urgency about health if their doctor told them that wasn't bad, or that wasn't in alignment. Or maybe you're just having a rough time mentally. You're struggling and you're below the line and things like that. So what we know is everybody wants to be happier, healthier, and wealthier, but we also don't know until we speak to people and ask them what their thing is. I like to think that, all the coaches that we train are thing detectives, right? Because you want to tell people what their thing should be based on what it is that you think is important. But that's not what they care about. They only care about their thing. So I teach my coaches, that we certify to be thing detectives. But what I do know from 14 years of experience and just coaching hundreds of thousands of people, what I do know for sure is that on a healthy body rests a healthy mind. So no matter what it is, if somebody wants to jump in and activate forward motion and leverage towards their desired state, there's no better way to do it than first take care of your temple. First take care of your hydration, your movement, your nutrition, your fueling system. So that's the way our program starts. No matter, whether somebody needs to lose weight or just get in structure or optimize their health, we put people in a structure with support and all that stuff so they can activate themselves, because on a healthy body, secondary, rests a healthy mind. In the personal growth realm, I see Tony Robbins is coming back, and all these awesome, speakers are out there in these books and podcasts, including this one. I think a lot of times people spend too much time trying to develop their mind and unconsciously forget about their body. So, long story short, Chicken and I got really, really inspired and motivated to just go all in with our health. So we started this 90-day campaign, and we're inviting just thousands of people to come with us. So if that's interesting to anybody in podcast land, DM me at Rise Up with Dragon, 90 days, and I'll tell you about it. Anyway, it's just about creating structure and just crushing the physical component and letting everything else. Remember, who you are determines how well what you do works. So taking care of your health is about working on the who so that the do works better. I think a lot of people are out there trying to do the do without having created the who that is the right person for the job. Does that make sense to you? So great morning. Great morning, everybody. I am so just pumped to be here. And I see some friends. Give a shout out to Donna. Was just with Donna. Carol, I just met Carol again, and Carol's got her dragon hat and her Make Sense glasses. So she is like fully prepared to crush life. What's up, Tia? And there's Kim, Catherine, Sarah, Christine, Brad, April, Dan, Heather, everybody. So we're going to have our little after party in Clubhouse. So at Clubhouse, you can find me at Make Sense. So let's get into the greatest gift. I heard this at the convention. I take a lot of notes. I usually take notes on my phone, and they usually get translated somehow into a Rise Up. But I heard this from stage. It was by my mentor, Dr. Anderson. And he said this, and this is what I wrote this down, and I'm like, I'm totally doing a Rise Up. He says, the greatest gift that you can ever give yourself is to stop trying to create or have a better past. So just absorb that for a second, because that motivated me. And I said, whoa, I wrote that down. And it's one thing to recognize, and we're going to get into the past today and evaluate and unpack it, make sense of it. It's one thing to understand that we cannot continue to view the future through the lens of the past. One of the reasons why I've created my Make Sense glasses, which everybody wants now. I gave out like hundreds of them at convention, and everybody's like, I want the glasses. So anyway, the idea behind my glasses is I put them by my bedstand, and part of my Rise Up in the morning is when I put on my Make Sense glasses and they say Make Sense next to them. It's just a conscious decision and an anchor to create and see the world as I want it. Right. So, that all works really, really well with this idea of like, forget about the past. It's like when I put my glasses on, I'm creating a reality that didn't exist. So I found this quote. This is super cool. So I don't know if you guys write these quotes down, but I would, because you'll hear it and you'll dig it. But I would like unpack it and use it today. So here's a quote that I found. So it says, life will only change when you become more committed to your dreams than your comfort zone. So your dreams are in the future, right? And your comfort zone, here's a cool concept to just ponder for a second. We all know that growth takes place out of the comfort zone, right? So uncomfortable is something that is in the future. Comfortable, your comfort zone, was created by your past. I never looked at it that way. If I'm in a comfort zone where no growth takes place, and by the way, I want to give you a visual, because we had sign language for all of the talks this weekend. And I saw this woman, she showed us what it looks like in sign language to say the word growth. It was so cool. So she takes her hand and pushes the other hand through as if it's like a tree growing. So I just showed you that on the video, but it's super cool. But think about that for a second. Let's not just look at comfort zone and say growth doesn't take place there. Let's look at comfort zone and say, how do you create a comfort zone? If I'm going to bake a cake called comfort zone, what are the ingredients and where does it come from? Yesterday. So that's one of the suckiest parts of the comfort zone that I got from that quote, is that it's actually created by the past. So if you're living comfortably, you're living in a past created environment. So of course growth doesn't take place. I did a podcast one time called Stillwater. I was running because I go running or Peloton in the morning. And in my 90-day level up, I'm crushing Peloton. So if there's any Peloton people out there, you can find me and ride with me. My call sign, like I'm Maverick, is Dragon Slayer, Dragon's Lair, like where the dragons live. But Stillwater, when I was running one morning and I saw, like, when you see a puddle and it's just not moving, there's just nothing. There's no movement at all. And in still water is where mosquitoes will develop and disease and things like that, right? Movement is super important. So I look at a comfort zone like Stillwater. So anyway, let's get into this rise up. Now you know where it was motivated, and I think you can dig it. So what an interesting way to look, right, at this, at the main reason that we fail to progress in life. I think what I'm about to talk about is one of the main reasons that we fail to progress in life. So it's one thing to get caught up viewing the future through the lens of the past, which is how I fixed that with the glasses, right? The make sense glasses. So it's one thing to screw that up, but it brings up the question of what the value. That's when I did my rise up this morning, I said, what's the value of the past? Because all we keep trying to do is get rid of the past, but is there any value in the past? And the only value that I found in the past is lessons that we've learned, right? But I think that we're taking too much of the past into the present moment and putting it on the table. So if you find yourself still going back into the past and referencing something that happened, and using it to call the shots in the present, I believe that there's two effective things happening. So this is an observation. When I'm looking at the past, I'm just saying, okay, well, what's the deal with the past? Because we keep saying that it doesn't serve us anymore. I love hearing people say that the past doesn't apply in my future state. If I'm going into the future and I'm feeling it, right? It's one thing to like look at the future and set a goal, but kids go into the future and they see what it's like, the puppy dog or the red shiny bike. They feel it, right? And that's the kind of future that you have to lead from the future and act in the now. So the problem is that if you're trying to move forward, but you're going back and checking and referencing, and I'll explain to you how it's not your fault. This is an automatic thing. The past, I think that there's two effective things happening in that moment. So one, you're calling upon a time or an event that cannot happen today because it already happened. Right. So then we get mixed up with this whole like reoccurrence thing. Is it going to happen again? I've been here before, I don't want this to happen again. So you're going back and you're checking on something that's already happened. It's over. Right. So that's one thing. So the second thing that you may notice, and this is what the Rise Up was about and was motivated by, the second thing that you'll notice when you go back and check with the past is you may notice that you're unconsciously stuck in the idea of replaying the event with the hopes that it'll change. That was a big thing for me to look at. The idea of going back into the past and replaying the event and feeling the feels about it, the anxiety. Isn't that weird how you can go back into a time that's over and that's already happened, replay it and feel what it was like? You can actually go back and make that a reality. So here's what's cool about that. I think everybody can resonate with the idea of reliving a past event and feeling like shit about it, right? That's the same thing I'm encouraging you to do about your goal setting. The question, see, most people say, well, it's easy to go back and relive something that actually happened. But when you can get to a point where you can go into the future and feel like it's actually happened or happening, that's how you start to dream and dream big. So just recognize for a second that if you know what it's like to go into the past and feel like shit, right? learn how to go into the future and feel awesome, right? Because the biggest struggle about living in the past is you actually live in the moment. You feel something that already happened. It doesn't exist anymore. It's a fantasy. So that was a big thing that popped into my head, and I wanted to share that with you. So both of these examples are poor use of your time, because you're trying to control uncontrollable things. So this is where the IRS, the interface response system, comes in. One of the biggest parts of that is being able to delineate the difference between something that is in your control and out of your control. I believe that if you want to dramatically improve your life experience, and one of the easiest things you can do right now is just learn. And that's why I teach people to say, that's cognitive distancing. If you can just pause and stop when you have a thought of the present, the future, or the past, and just stop and think about it first. And ask, there's 4 questions that I teach, but ask this one question definitively: is this in or out of my control? And if you stop trying to control things that are out of your control, you will 20x your life just by doing that, because 85% of the time that gets sucked out of you is trying to control uncontrollable things. And you're trying to control an uncontrollable things because you feel like shit. You feel angry, you feel sad, you feel frustrated, you get anxiety. Anxiety is always attached to trying to control something that's out of your control. That's why you feel anxiety, because you feel out of control. Why are you feeling anxiety right now? I don't know. So we're all desiring control. That's actually the name of the next Rise Up. Is I'm going to go all in with control. So using the IRS, we start by once again understanding why we still check in to the past, and it's not your fault. So here's what I'm saying. The IRS, the interface response system, a big part of it is just becoming consciously aware of what's going on. So what I'm saying right now, let's become consciously aware of why we check in with our past. Why do we do things that we know are ineffective and inefficient at moving us forward? So I want to go over that, and I've done it before, but you can't just try to stop doing something. You have to acknowledge why you're doing it. Just become conscious. It's not your fault. So past memories, remember something. Past memories, things that have happened in the past, are stored in this little area in your brain called the hippocampus. I've gone over this sequence many times, right? So your hippocampus is in your brain. You have this thing in your brain. And what happens is that when your amygdala, that's that first line of defense that causes fight, flight, or freeze. When your amygdala fires off because it's acknowledging a potential threat or something that needs an evaluation, the first thing it does, whether you like it or not, is it checks with your hippocampus. So you can't stop this process. Your amygdala is always going to check with it's going to check in with your past. And that's those memories stored in the hippocampus. So the amygdala sounds an alarm, and the first thing it does is it checks in with the hippocampus. It's like, is this a problem? Is this a potential danger? AKA the past, right? So by embracing this, just by embracing, we talked a lot about feelings before and emotional rescue. By not trying to say, damn, this sucks, I want to stop this process from happening, right? Embrace it and just say, oh, that's what's happening, rather than make it your identity, right? Don't say, hey, that's me. Just say, oh, that's that process that's happening, right? So observe the process as a process, not as something of value. Always a big part of the system that I teach is distance yourself and stall long enough where you can gain the ability to look at it and acknowledge it as a process, an automatic unconscious process, rather than who you are. And if you do that, you move into an observation mode and you can say, oh yeah, that's that process taking place. Interesting, cool, right? Watch it, grab some popcorn and watch it. Again, a good time to try a good old, So that's my word or my sound that I make. And it really helps me. That's how I initiate cognitive distancing, so I can stall that process. Because if I don't consciously become aware of the process, then I'll get sucked in and think that it's actually my reality. And then I'll fight, flight, or freeze. And then I'll make shitty decisions, and I'll live in my comfort zone, or as I said before, still water. So again, that word, which is the name of my talk in Colorado, is magic. These glasses help me to do that as well. When I'm wearing these glasses, not only do I see the world as I want it, and if you get a pair of these glasses, you will too. You'll be amazed. You put these glasses on in the morning and everything changes. But they also are an anchor that remind me to say, which drives chicken crazy sometimes. So next, gain access to the more rational part of your brain in the space, in the right? So what you're doing when you stall, right? You're also, and this is what meditation does for those of you that like to meditate, you're also bypassing your programmed analytical mind and asking what makes sense and what's needed to proceed, rather than accepting the programmed, unconsciously programmed analytical mind. So when you cognitively distance and you say, and you observe and you describe, and I'll take this home in a second, it gives you the ability to ask some questions, some logical questions, like what actually makes sense right now, right? If you're feeling the past right now, you might be able to acknowledge this, but that's the past. This is the present. And I'm focused on the future right now. It doesn't apply. And what is it that I need to proceed? And what you typically find out when you ask that question, what do I need to proceed? Because you can say that does or doesn't help me. And that's the bouncer checking IDs, who gets in and who gets out of your brain. But you'll also, when you ask yourself, what do I need to proceed? You'll typically say, well, I'll just go back and keep doing what I was doing before this shit happened. So when I get on this 90-day thing, the only thing standing in my way of success is when my brain goes into some sort of past comfort zone, still water moment. And all I have to do is become consciously aware of it, that I'm in the past right now. I don't look at it as a bad thing because it's not my fault, right? I'm in the past, and then I can make a logical, rational decision to say, what do I need to do? And I just keep freaking doing what I was doing, right? Rather than accept a hall pass and get out. So by practicing this, and I say practice, right? If we try this one time and we feel like it wasn't like perfect, we say, oh, I suck at this. No, you got to practice this stuff, man. I've been doing this for 15 years. Practicing this frequently. What's cool, here's the big win of the practicing as we come to the end. What's cool about practicing this frequently is that you start reprogramming your hippocampus with new memories, right? That will be part of your future process. Think about this. This is really, really cool to think about. If you feel like you're living in the past, create a new past. Think about that for a second. It's interesting to recognize that the things that you're doing today, however you respond today, think about this, especially the new uncomfortable stuff, right? If you do some growth-oriented, uncomfortable stuff today, as soon as you do them, they become your new past. And if you do them frequently, and this is where habituation is really cool. You know, in our program, we talk a lot about habit formation, and my mentorship has taught me a lot about creating habits long-term. That's why you have to practice. One of the reasons why they're so valuable, and the very nature of a habit, is to become unconsciously competent at something, which means that if I know that every time I do something, it's completely out of my control, my amygdala is going to fire off and check with my hippocampus. If I've uploaded new memories from my current actions that I'm going to do frequently, if I upload new memories, my amygdala is going to go check with the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is going to say, chill, dude, everything's fine. According to our most current data, that's not a problem. Keep going. That's what I'm excited about right there. So I love to pose this question, and I'll do that to all of you, and then we will jump in and do a little interaction. I love to pose a question to my clients or the coaches that I work with, and ask them, if especially the ones that are stuck, right? I say, if you went back 5 years ago, if you went back 5 years ago and initiated 5 years ago much better decisions, you learned the IRS, and you made better choices, and you went, and you followed your program, and you just did all the things that you know you need to do to improve your life. You did scary things, you lived uncomfortably. You know, if we were together for 5 years and you were in full 3 for 3 actions, what that means is your thoughts, feelings, and actions. If you were all in for 5 years, what would your current reality be? And every single one of you would say, much better. I would be much better. And I love to ask, would you even potentially be younger and more vibrant today than you were 5 years ago? And they all say, absolutely. So then I remind them of something. I say, here's a cool thought. Today is 5 years in the past of your reality 5 years from now. And I'm going to come to you in 5 years, and I'm going to ask you the same question. And I'm going to say, if you went back 5 years and made better decisions, would your life be better? And you go, yeah, man, I did. and I am younger, and I'm happier, and I'm more vibrant. So anyway, that's my rise up today. I'm fired up about stuff. I'm very, very motivated because I think I found the missing pieces to finish my book. Chicken and I are, just a quick update. We're going back and forth to South Africa until we get our little girl here. USA is not letting our little 11-year-old here with her negative COVID test, but they will fill a plane up with Americans that go to South Africa with guns and and herd like lions and big game into pens and kill them. They're allowed to get on the plane and check their guns, right? But our little 11-year-old who has a negative COVID test, not allowed to get on there. So I'm not below the line there. I'm just trying to bring a conscious awareness of the fact that our little 11-year-old is facing a lot of adversity, and we're teaching her the interface response system, and we're bringing the party to her. So Chicken and I are going there every 2 months. And when she gets here, it's going to be so delightful. And that's what we're seeing in the future, right? We're living in the future and we're acting in the now. So we're already planning. So thanks so much. Great morning to everybody. Quick reminders, you can subscribe to my podcast, get the edited versions of these. My great friend Lemuel. If anybody ever needs somebody to edit their podcast, man, this guy's the best. So you'll see that coming up, and we're going to load 3 more today. So get on that podcast, leave us a rating and review. We really appreciate it. And you can follow me on Instagram at Rise Up with Dragon. And then on Clubhouse, you find me at Make Sense. And I run the Make Sense Club. So we're going to jump in there now and see if anybody has something that they want to input from their cranial vault. But love and appreciate you all. Have an amazing day. Let's take ourselves out.